Hello and welcome to Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes, on the Politics Social channel. Okay, so first things first, I am hungover. I am massively hungover. I have a pounding headache. I'm really not in the mood for talking about Donald Trump. But here we are. Here we are. I guess we have to. I guess it's the world in which we live in. Oh, man. What were you doing last night, Graham? Oh, I went to see The Darkness, supported by Ash, bands, guitars. Oh, it was good. It was fantastic, actually. It was the last night of the tour. It's a good laugh. Anyway, it was supposed to happen a few weeks ago on a Friday. That would have been fine because it wasn't a weekday and I would have a show in the morning. But yeah, it happened on a Tuesday instead. My fault entirely. Big shout out to Asperger's Europe, who's now a member of the channel. Welcome to Lone Star. Asperger's Europe. I also want to give a big shout out to Diz and to Martin Harrow and Pete's Music and Gunny and Scott and Veg Pie and Francis and Billy Kershaw as well and Pete Denkat. How you doing? How you doing, everyone? If you'd like to join our friends in the chat here, all you need to do is move slightly over to the middle of the screen and hit on the subscribe button. Hit that big juicy subscribe button. I tell you what, instead of moving me, why don't I just move the camera? There you go. I'll just shuffle this a little bit so you can still see our little friend Brock the Badger behind us. Okay. Well, let's get into it then. It's Liberation Day. Yay! It's liberation. We're going to be liberated from money, from having a functioning economy. Take that. It's finally here. Not to be confused with VE Day, Bastille Day, or even Brexit Day. No, this one is all about Donald Judas Trump, king of the tariff and emperor of the economic... I can't say it this early into the show. Cluster F. There you go. That's what I can say. I can say cluster F. Oh, I didn't say it's Wednesday, the 2nd of April. 2025. Welcome. I usually give the days. See, I'm not quite with it this morning. You're going to have to bear with me. Houston, do we have a problem? Yes. I was late and I'm hungover. And I didn't do the standard amount of prep for these shows that I normally do. Just 1 minute. So 4 p.m. today, which is 9 p.m. UK time, the White House has dubbed this Liberation Day. So we're not going to know till 9 o'clock tonight. And we might do, if Ollie's up for it, we might do a 9 o'clock special tonight talking about the tariffs and what they mean. Oh, wow. We just got 50 quid super chat. We've got a mega chat. Thank you so much for the mega chat, Plum Duff. That's really kind of you. Thank you. That's made me hangover better. Everyone here is the best of human. Peace and love to you all. Oh, thank you, Plum Duff. That's really kind, especially when I'm feeling a little bit sorry for myself, which I shouldn't be, you know. No one has any sympathy for you when you've got a hangover, is it? It's a bit like murdering a bunch of people and then complaining about all the blood on your hands. Not really. But anyway, I'll move on. So thanks very much to Plum Duff. You absolutely rock. That's really, really kind of you. And yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about what's happening today. So Trump is expected to unveil a tariff, as we discussed yesterday, 10 to 20% on all imports in the US. Some of these tariffs are already live, like the 25% auto tariff that kicked in this morning. And his speech today is supposed to formalize a broader sweeping tariff under the reciprocal tariffs barrier. And he talks about the Trump's Dirty 15, which are China, the EU, Mexico. Well, the EU's made up of 27 states, so I mean it's a lot more than that. Dirty 40. China, the EU, Mexico, Vietnam, Ireland, Germany, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Canada, India, Thailand, Italy, Switzerland, and Malaysia. That's Dirty 15. He's also floated the idea of a blanket 20% tariff on all foreign goods, not just trade deficit countries. That's the thing. The UK doesn't have a particular trade deficit with the US. I mean, we're pretty equal when it comes to trade. And so we can't really say that we're taking the piss because we're genuinely not. But what's going to happen, and we'll talk about this later in the show, is like what we're going to do. Because like I'm not buying American shit. I'm just about on this American platform because there's no other options. But I'm not going to McDonald's anymore. I'm not buying Coca-Cola. I'm not drinking American beer, or what they say is beer. It says beer on the label usually, but it doesn't taste very good anyway. So no great loss there. European European beer is much better. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. GOJ, thank you very much. That's a good name, isn't it? GOJ, I like that. GOJ. Are you in initials GO and J? Anyway, thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. That's really kind of you. If Trump wants to have tariffs, the rest of the world should agree to stop using the US dollar as the reserve currency. Well, this is it. He's kind of got us over a barrel because it's gonna ruin everything, and it's. I agree. I think we should move towards the euro, but whether we can get enough other countries on board with that, I don't know. But if we did use the euro as the reserve currency, I'll be much happier right now, because the US are just absolutely taking the piss out the rest of us, and I'll talk about this later in the show. But the economic consequences on us in this, for all this, is going to be absolutely catastrophic. He's saying that these tariffs are going to bring manufacturing home, it's going to protect American jobs, and it's going to generate trillions, his words, for the treasury. He's nuts. He says America has been ripped off by countries with VAT, with VATs, subsidies, and other non-tariff barriers. But the real motivation here is economic nationalism as political theatre. Trump is and always will be a reality TV celebrity. That's what he is. He's WrestleMania in political form, and he is always going to be entertaining people. That's what his job is to give people content. He's providing the content for us to talk about this morning on this channel, and we fucking hate him. So you can imagine, he generated Trump doing stupid shit generates so much publicity. You look at why all the newspapers and Murdoch and all that lot all fawn over him, because he provides excellent content for them. The right-wing content creators are already showered in gifts and money from billionaires, and Russia Today actually pays for influencers online, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year extra on top of what they earn online, just to spout out, stuff that doesn't seem that it's Russian propaganda, but it is Russian propaganda. Because it could be like a cooking channel, it could be like something about motoring, or it could be something about just someone doing a stupid dance to the latest dance craze. But it's all Russian propaganda. It's all capitalist propaganda. It's all manosphere propaganda being paid for by the really, really fucking rich oligarchs. He's building a narrative. Trump is building this narrative of victimhood, which is a bit rich, because America is really rich. America's problems, its poverty, isn't caused by the lack of money. America's got more money than any other country in the world. It's absolutely loaded. It's the richest country in the world. Everyone in America could have a fairly decent life, fairly decent living standards. We could afford to buy a house and a car, But sometimes that isn't enough to keep a person like Trump interested. Sometimes he has to go out and have fun at other people's expense. That's just the way it is. It's been like this for a long time. Quoting. So it's all a victim. Imagine like the richest person in your neighborhood who owns a fucking mansion on the top of the hill, and you see them in the pub and all they do is fucking moan about how they're the victim, really, if you think about it. It's J.K. Rowling syndrome, innit? She's the richest author in the world, and yet she's the victim somehow. What? Why? What happened? Oh, a cisgender man was horrible to me. Okay, that's awful. I'm really sorry that happened. But, why are you going after trans people? Because I don't see trans people as real people. Well, that's nice. Say it again. It's so sad that if J.K. Rowling had carked it 15 years ago, she would have got a state funeral. The nation would have been proper fucking grieving. And now, today, half the country would be like, how awful's that? Really sad. Dirty Val died. Val Kilmer. Loved a bit of Dirty Val. He was in a movie called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He's fucking brilliant. That's a great movie. I think that's the movie that brought Iron Man, Mickey, what's his name? Not Mickey Rourke, the other one, the other Hellraiser, Tony Stark, brought him back from the brink because he was in jail, wasn't he? He seems mad now to think about it, Iron Man when it came out. Like no one expected it to do really well. It was like a proper not B tier. It was like a C or D tier superhero, and no one expected it to do as well as it did, and it birthed the MCU, which was boss until 2019, and then it went shit. Danielle Cross, speaking as a trans woman, I feel pretty damn real. Danielle, yeah, you are, and we see you. And the thing is that these people who have got all this money in the world want to pretend that they're a victim about something. So what's J.K. Rowling's thing? I'm a victim because trans people exist. All right, whatever. They all just want to be a victim. This victim complex of the super wealthy, and it's because I suppose at a psychological level, it's because they've got all this fame and they've got all this fortune, and it hasn't made them happy. Because we're told this lie all the way through life that if you get rich and you get successful, then you'll finally be happy. You'll feel like you've won in life. And these people who have won in life, some of them, they won the birth lottery, didn't they? Because they got rich parents. But they get there and they're like, I'm not happy. And you only need to look how many celebrities suffer from addiction, mental health problems, and ultimately may end themselves, to see that fame and fortune does not bring people happiness. What brings people happiness is family and friends and community, and being part of something, feeling like you're useful. There's a thing about elephants, isn't there, where if an old elephant will hang back from the rest of the herd as they migrate because they don't want to hold the rest of them back, and they sort of just lie down and fade away because they don't feel useful anymore, effectively. Apparently people who keep working right into their sort of 70s and 80s live longer than people who retire, weirdly, because I guess they still feel useful. And you watching this, you're really fucking useful. There's not many people who are on the left online. Well, there's millions of us, but like we're not all together in a group. And even just watching this channel and watching Subatansky and Aid and Femi stuff and Zoe stuff, just watching this stuff helps all of us. And if you can like and share these videos, just subscribe to our channels, even fucking better. But even just watching it, to be honest with you, you're part of a movement. Just you're rebelling against the system. It doesn't want you watching channels like this. They want you consuming Murdoch fucking slop. Anyway, yeah, so back to Trump, unfortunately. I don't know why I went via elephants. Just my brain this morning is not firing on all 17 cylinders. Distraction from domestic problems. So yeah, there's market instability in the UK, in the US. There's inflation concerns, and there's weak real wage growth. I mean, the fact that inflation hasn't been tackled and it started going up again, started ticking up, is really concerning for your average American who may have voted for Trump because they just like having a rapist in charge. Oh, sorry, I was going to make an excuse for them and say they voted for him to get lower grocery prices. Now they didn't. They just wanted a rapist in charge, because then they thought that they kind of think, oh, maybe I can get away with it too. Because people who vote for Trump are sick. They're sick motherfuckers, and there's 77 million of them. One of the other reasons I'm never going to America again, I don't think, because wow, until it might split into more than one country. Who knows? Robert Downey Jr. Oh, that's the guy's name. I knew it was something. But yeah, he was in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which I think was written by Shane Black, who also wrote, I want to say Die Hard, but I might be wrong. It might be Lethal Weapon. He used to write like 80s like action movie, really, really good 80s action movies. And yeah, well worth checking out. Also, Val Kilmer, Top Secret, 1984, fantastic movie made by Abraham Zucker, who made Airplane and Naked Gun. It's absolutely brilliant. Just there's two visual gags in it. There's one where someone picks up a phone and it's really close to the foreground and it's a huge phone, which is just fucking hilarious. And the other one is when someone's needs to speak German. She says, "I know a little German," and then she says hello, and there's like a little guy dressed in lederhosen who goes, "Hi, I'm a little German." Guten Tag. This little guy, and he's in lederhosen. Oh, anyway, but yeah, Trump's already done this once before. He brought in tariffs in his first reign of terror. But this time he's got fewer constraints. He's got no Gary Cohns. He's got no General Kellys to stop him. His second term sycophants, his team are loyalists and ideologues. They're not institutionalists. And the courts haven't got emergency... the courts haven't blocked the emergency tariff powers. So there's nothing to stop him being as mad as he likes. And his sort of 2018 to 19 tariff moves were kind of piecemeal in comparison with what he's going to do now. And this is going to be an attempt, and I think a failure, at full-on trade realignment. Well, I think it's going to be a failure because I think he's going to lose. America's going to lose loads of trade. You're going to see a realignment. We've already seen this between Canada and China, the EU, and other trading partners away from the US. Anyway, so the EU's already warned. Ursula von der Leyen went on yesterday, and she stood up and said that the EU is ready to retaliate. So you can expect European tariffs on US alcohol, whiskey and bourbon, cars and trucks, tech products like semiconductors, consumer goods like jeans, so Levi's are out, cosmetics, orange juice, 26 billion euros in tariffs are already on standby, scheduled for April to kick in on April the 13th. UK exports to the US are worth 146 billion with a B in 2023. Key sectors include pharmaceuticals. We've got Smith Beecham here. We've got AstraZeneca, machinery, aerospace, cars, Scotch whiskey, software. Don't forget GTA, Grand Theft Auto, best-selling video game in like the world, pretty much. Is a British company that made it. And then financial services, which is a big one. It's a really big one. Whether financial services are going to be hit by tariffs, this might just be on goods. It probably will be just on goods, which is going to do a lot of damage to the manufacturing industry in America. There was some dickhead who called up James O'Brien yesterday, and you know when you listen to the radio and you're like, why are you letting this person speak? And obviously tariffs and economies, just like me. I mean, it's not James O'Brien's forte by any stretch of the imagination. It'd be like standing up for trans people, just not his forte. But there's just someone on saying, trying to explain how it would actually reduce the cost of cars in America by stopping the cheap imports coming in. And I'm like, it's not going to reduce the cost of cars. If anything, it's going to push the cost of cars up because they're not going to be able to do the cross-border cross-border logistics of making a car where the gearbox is made in Canada and the pistons are made in Mexico and it comes together in Pittsburgh or wherever the factory is. The assembly plants, you make your parts for the car in different countries and you bring them into America, which is facilitated by the USMCA treaty, something that replaced NAFTA, the North America Free Trade Agreement, and that was brought in by Donald Trump himself. Now, if he slaps tariffs on those car parts coming in, and they might get an exception, I think they probably will get an exception, but just say he does, then that's going to drive the price of domestic cars up, and there'll be no option. So it's not like you go, oh, well, I got $5,000 to buy a car. I'll go and have a look at what cars I can buy. And the only cars that are available are $50,000. You're not going to buy a new car, are you? You're just going to buy a second-hand one, quite sensibly. Honestly, I don't know why people buy, and I don't mean to offend anyone watching this, but like, you buy a brand new car, it depreciates by about $5,000 when you drive it home, like from this dealers. Like, what? Buying a brand new car to me just seems absolutely bonkers. I mean, maybe if you're leasing it or something, but buying it? You just lose. You're just burning money. You could buy it a year later for like $5 less. That is just like some mad depreciation. Depreciation on cars. It's kind of like it just drops off a mile in the first year. And then it keeps going down a little bit because obviously you get wear and tear on the tires and everything after like 5 years. Though it just flatlines. Like the worth of a car that's 5 years old. It's about the same as the one that's 10 years old if it's been looked after and it's not full of rust. But yeah, so the idea that it's going to bring down the prices. This guy calling up the radio saying it's going to bring down the price of cars, and I'm like, how the fuck does that work? If someone wants to explain to me in the chat how stopping cheaper foreign imports coming in is going to make car manufacturers in the US be able to make their cars cheaper, are they going to pay their staff less? The teams working on building these cars? And in any case, it takes 2 to 3 years to put a fucking car plant together. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. Tell you what's going to happen overnight, though. The cost of cars, imported cars in America, is going to skyrocket by thousands of dollars. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So the tariff exposure for British cars should be, well, it's going to be 25%. That's already kicked in, I think. Pharmaceuticals, that'll probably be announced today. There's the next wave. Digital services, it's unclear what digital services are going to be covered by these tariffs, but it is likely, because don't forget who's the green worm tongue in this, who's cooing in Trump's ear, King Theo Trump's ear. King Theodon. Do you like that? King Theodon's ear. So you've got Elon Wormtongue whispering in his ear, and what's Wormtongue interested in? He's interested in cars because he's got Tesla plants that are fully USA, so they're going to be covered by the tariffs. He's trying to knock out Ford and Chrysler, or whatever they call themselves these days, and GM, and also he's into tech, isn't he? So if he can wipe out any tech competitors operating out of the UK, Europe, Japan, or China, or anywhere else, then he's king dog, isn't he? There's also, by the way, and we've kind of forgotten about this, but the TikTok ban in America is coming back. I think it's April the 5th. So what's that? Friday? No, Saturday. Yeah, TikTok's going to go dark again, unless something changes in the American system. I don't know. But it does look like Elon Musk he's sold X to XAI. So he's bought out X, which is a failing company, with an IOU for another company. But what I think he's going to do is not just use your tweets for over the years as food for his AI machine, but also government data as food for his AI machine. But also, I reckon, right, this week or next week, they're going to launch on TikTok on Twitter, they're going to launch a TikTok clone, essentially doing the same thing that TikTok does, except it will be a right-wing, manosphere, toxic, wasteland, 4chan shite site with just dickheads on there making videos about how much they love Trump and tariffs and NASCAR and wrestling and whatever. I don't know. They'll make videos about. It's not going to be the kind of thing that TikTok is, and I know it's owned by the Chinese government, so got a stake in it, and you're probably losing your data to them. But fucking Elon Musk, he's taking all your social security data, he's taking all your bank details, he's got access to your medical records. I mean, well, not me, but if you're American, yeah, he's got all that info. He's going to feed it into his monster. He's going to feed that into his AI. And no one's going to be able to stop him because he's above the law, because he's filthy rich, Daddy was a pedo. He's a pedo. His dad married Elon's stepsister, who he had been stepfather to since she was 3 years old. And when she was old enough, he had 2 children with her and he married her. How fucked up is that? Your own child? Just beyond that. That's grooming. When Elon Musk goes on about groomers, talking about RMPs, saying Jess Phillips is helping groomers or something, I'm like, groomers? Do you want to talk about groomers, Elon? Have a look at your dad. Have a look at your sick fuck of a dad. So on that side of his family, pedos. The other side of his family, Nazis. And then he's come out, a big fucking Nazi paedophile, who accuses. I'm only joking when I say that, obviously, because it's a joke. It was a joke that I deleted after I said it. Because that's what he said. That's what he said about the guy who helped rescue the kids they were trapped in a cave in Thailand. You know, after doing that heroic deed, that should have come with accolades aplenty. I mean, you get an OBE for acting, for Christ's sake. Imagine what the award that he should have got for doing that thing where he rescued 17 children. It was 17, might be more. And Musk goes online and calls him a paedophile for no reason, other than his butt hurt about the fact that they didn't let him build a submarine. I don't think he understood. Well, he doesn't understand a lot of things. But the hole that the diver had to get through was just about big enough for a person to squeeze through without a tank. And you had to sort of be flexible, like spelunking, you know what I mean? Like going into these caves. That's what he was really good at. I think they had to have like a tank. And you have to have it behind you, and you have to kind of drag your tank behind you. Because if you've got it on your back, your oxygen tank, it hits the hole that you're in, the wet, dark hole that you're in. God, I can't even. I'm getting claustrophobic just even thinking about what that guy had to do to get those kids out. And Elon Musk, the son of a paedophile, the offspring, the prodigy of Nazis who were thrown out. Well, they weren't thrown out, but they left Canada because Canada wasn't Nazi enough. And they went to live in apartheid era South Africa. Daddy owned an emerald mine. Well, I'm sure in Elon Musk's head he's the victim. Did you see him online crying? Did you see him on Fox News, was it? He went on and he cried about his stock price going. He said, "Why are people so mean? Why are people so mean?" Same guy who said that the problem with the world is there's too much empathy. There's too much empathy. You gotta be a fucking raging sociopath to say something mad like that, don't you? People have emotions, and people recognizing that other people have emotions, that's the problem. Yeah, right, Elon. Why didn't everyone put a chip in the head so they can be more like in Severance? Gallifreyan Wren. Nothing happened that I didn't expect. They refused to add progesterone, is it? Again, but I've been referred for laser hair removal. Oh, that's good. In a way, Gallifreyan Wren, at least you've been referred for that. But I mean, the war on trans people at the moment is just, it's so heartbreaking. Everyone I know who's trans is fucking awesome. It's not just that they're okay. You know, they're fucking actually awesome people, and they deserve our love and respect. I mean, if someone who's trans commits a crime, I'll treat them the same way as someone who's cis commits a crime. Tell them to fuck off, drop them like a hot stone, whatever, you know, goodbye. But to think that, like, one person's criminal acts represent an entire cohort, fuck off. You know, like, seriously. Try doing that about black people. Try doing that about Indian people, people from Pakistan. See how far it gets you. See how far that gets you in life, J.K. Rowling. Anyway, moving on. So yes, the UK's response to this has been very much, you know, the meme where it's the woman shouting and then it's got the cat sitting at the table with the dish in front of it, looking really cool and collected. That's kind of like Starmer, isn't it? He's the cat and all this. Trump's the pointy person, the Marjorie Taylor Greene of it all. Whereas Starmer's just sort of sitting there going, he's trying to be like cool and calm, trying to avoid escalation. I don't know. If we were less exposed, I think we could come all guns blazing. And I do genuinely think that if we were still in the European Union, we would be much better placed for fighting back against these tariffs. Don't forget, the European Union, even without us, is 450 million relatively wealthy consumers. You can trade stuff from America to Europe that you simply can't trade to Africa or countries in Africa or to countries in Asia, because people there, the vast majority of people, can't afford whatever it is that you're selling them. People in these countries, they want cheap food, they want cheap mobile phones, They want a house to live in. These are not things that America can provide. Unless it's USA, I suppose. But it's not like there's going to be many people right now in Burkina Faso thinking about buying a fucking Ford pickup truck. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. Graham pronounced these. It'll be funny. Perma panel, lamistical, isopropyl. I don't know. Like once you've heard the word a few times, you kind of get your head around it, I guess. But the problem with English is it's just a mishmash of all different languages. So you've got no idea how any of the vowel sounds are supposed to work, or any of the fucking consonants, to be honest with you. Just look at a word with O-U-G-H in it. Try and explain how there's like 7 different ways of pronouncing the same cluster of letters. It's a clusterfuck of letters. But yeah. I should just pull what does Uncle Phil do when he can't pronounce a word? He just goes, that's how we say it in Yorkshire. I think that's what I need to get away. That's just how we say it in Liverpool. Rachel Reeves is warning that tariffs could blow a hole in UK fiscal projections and force unpalatable decisions. David Lammy is saying all options remain on the table. Do they, David, though? Do they? Rejoin the EU? That's an option. That is an option. If you hadn't left the EU, there's a couple of things here. First of all, we'll have much more of a robust economy that could take this hit. At the moment, our economy has taken hit after hit. We had the credit crunch, then we had austerity, then we had Brexit, then we had COVID, then we had Truss, and now we've got Trump. That's 6 specific blows to our economy, and our economy is really faltering at the moment. It's in a very precarious position. As I keep banging on about, it's barely grown since 2007. Barely grown at all. For nearly, coming up to 20 years, coming up to 20 years. That's fucking insane. That is just, our economy just sort of ticked along. I mean, obviously there was the big shock of World War II, but still, I mean, in the lifestyle that people could afford on relatively low wages in the 1960s and 70s was just insane. People could buy a semi-detached house, a 3-bedroomed house. They could put an extension on it. They could build a fucking conservatory. No one can do that shit these days. People are working 2 jobs, barely keeping their head above water. People can't afford to have kids. There was a call in on LBC the other day where he was talking about people not having kids. And I feel like I'm one of these people who's just felt some things in life I don't feel like I've ever been able to afford. A drug addiction, taking drugs in any case, smoking. I've never felt like I'd afford to do that. Never wanted to, but or have kids. Great, and I find that's really sad. I think that's really, really sad because I'm pretty good with kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to blow my own horn, but I can relate to kids. Probably better than I can relate to some old people, to be honest with you. At least kids know what's going on. I can talk to them about politics. Old people are just they're just, not all old people, hashtag not all boomers, but like they're just parrot stuff from the Daily Mail. Imagine you are me, right? You're sitting there, you got your Guinness World Record certificate there that says, you're the first person to go to every country in the world without flying. And you've got a degree in history and politics. And yeah, this older person knows these things. And they go, well, Graham, you might have been to every country in the world without flying, and you might have a degree in history and politics from Manchester University, but what you don't realise is, and then they just shot something up from the fucking cover of the Daily fucking Mail, and I'm just like, or meme warfare, people they've read a fucking meme, and now they know everything. It was in a meme. I read a meme. So let's have a look at the sort of like a little bit of a sector by sector UK impact that I've got written up here. So just to go back to the warnings, the Office for Budget Responsibility says a full-scale US, EU, UK trade war could shave 1% from UK GDP and completely eliminate any last vestiges of Reeves's financial headroom. She said, "Oh, I've got 10 billion financial headroom." So sector by sector, we've got the automotive industry. There's already hit by 25% tariffs on British-made cars exported to the US. Brands like Jaguar, Mini, Rolls-Royce, Morgan, all impacted. Tariffs could be passed on to US consumers or absorbed by manufacturers, but that would kill the profit. So it's just going to be passed on to the consumers. So they're not going to buy British cars anymore. It's not going to bring down the price of American cars. It's just going to push up the price of cars that aren't American. So if America can only make a car, like the cheapest car they can actually make, with the cost of materials and time and needing to make a profit, and say it's 30 grand is the cheapest possible car that they can make. Well, there were some foreign, there were foreign cars coming in that you might have been able to buy for 10 grand or 15 grand. They're not going to be around anymore. You're not going to be able to buy those cars. Or if you do, they're going to be taken up to the same price as the American brand. And it's not going to make anything cheaper. So thinking that you make things cheaper by making your competition's cars more expensive is just bonkers. It just prices people out of a market, and they just won't buy a car. If people who buy a new car every month, retired people in this country, they're just not going to buy a new car this month. Maybe next month. I don't know. Some people in this country have got the rosiest fucking pensions, final salary pensions. People who retired when they were like 53. And they're still alive now, and they're in the fucking 80s or 90s. They've not worked for 40 years, and they've been getting a full salary. And that salary's been paid for by the company, by the people working for the company now, who don't, or into that pension fund, paying into that pension fund, who aren't going to get anything near that sweeter deal. And they're the ones who've got the audacity to point at the younger generations and say, "Oh, you're all lazy." I'm like, what? Fuck off. Anyway, so whiskey is a huge thing. Like over 20% of our food and drink export by value is whiskey. It's Scotch whiskey, actually, specifically. And Scotch exports to the US topped $1 billion last year. 1 billion. That's a huge, huge industry. And 25% tariffs could absolutely wreck smaller distilleries. And it's going to be very damaging even for the big ones. And the Scottish government is already heavily lobbying for exemptions for whiskey, but whether we're going to get them or not remains to be seen. As I mentioned earlier, GlaxoSmithKline and AstraZeneca both have US exposure. Tariffs on raw materials, components, and finished products are likely to hike prices, which is going to fuck over the Americans who rely on their shitty healthcare system. That it's an insurance-based system where the insurance doesn't always pay out. And we've heard all these horrific stories since Luigi's Mansion did what he did, of how people who thought that they were covered for stuff turned out not to be covered for stuff and ended up with a bill for $500,000 for banging their head on a tree branch. Do you know what I mean? Like, or having their baby, heaven forfend. And that system is just going to get more expensive. And these insurance companies are going to be turning down more and more people for treatments and surgeries and procedures that they needed to stay alive. How much would you pay to keep your loved ones alive? That is the question that US pharmaceutical companies ask each other every day. I saw a clip of some anti-vaxxers talking about how do you trust Big Pharma? And I'm like, no, that's why I want vaccines. But it's actually in Big Pharma's interest for people not to get vaccines, because then you need medical stuff for the rest of your life. When people who are deaf need hearing aids that cost $1.5 grand each, or they need to have they elect to have cochlear implants, which are really fucking expensive. What's going to make more money for the pharmaceutical industry? People having to have these things for the rest of their lives and having to have them maintained and updated and buy new ones every now and again, or a 50p shot of generic vaccines. Like, obviously it's better to make people ill and keep them ill for the rest of their lives. If a kid gets polio and doesn't die and stays alive, they might need calipers for the rest of their life. Well, the company that produces those calipers, they're happy. So yeah, if you don't trust pharmaceutical companies to have your best interests at heart at all times, fine. But I've got to say, if that's what you believe, get yourself vaccinated, get your kids vaccinated. then you won't be shelling out to pharmaceutical companies for the rest of your life, or your child's short life if you don't get them vaccinated and they get measles and they die of it, as kids are doing in America now. They're dying of measles. They're dying of something that is supposed to be eradicated by now, like smallpox. Stock market, the FTSE 100 fell on anticipation of these tariffs. The UK pensions are heavily exposed to global equities, so that's going to be really, really disruptive. And I know they put money into long-term assets, but still. And then rising protectionism equals what? Pessimism. Do you know what I mean? Like, protectionism equals pessimism. And pessimism for investors means they stop putting money into things. They put money into gold. They buy gold. And America, I don't think, produces much gold these days. There's gold in them there hills. Well, taking it all out now. I think most of the gold that we rely on for gold is from Papua New Guinea. Or from South Africa. Maybe they've moved up from an emerald mine, the Musk family, the Musk inbred clan, where Musk's mother, his stepmom, is also his stepsister. How fucked is that? Elon Musk's stepmother is also his stepsister. Fucking, can you hear the banjos? Can you hear the banjos playing, Musk? Elon, can you hear the banjos? You got a real pretty mouth, I hear. Alistair, thank you. Exactly, Graham. A few small whiskey producers are always talking about shutting down production or mothballing, as some whiskey takes 20 years, new markets. Yeah, indeed, Alistair. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's really kind of you. Something I learned, a burning question that I had for a very long time, is how the fuck did whiskey companies make money for the first 20 years of the whiskey company existing? Because I didn't get it. Did they go into a bank and they'll go, I'd like a loan, please, to set up a distillery? And they're like, okay, cool. When will we see some return on our investment? And they're like, 20 years. When the whiskey's ready in 20 years' time. Like, what? 2045. That's when you're going to... I'm like, how did it... Gin is the answer, because the same apparatus that you can use for whiskey, you can use for gin, and gin doesn't take any time to ferment. Well, there's a process to it, but it doesn't take 20 years. So in the meantime, while they're waiting for the good stuff to get to the right flavor, while they're waiting for the good stuff to do what it does, age in its cask. Yeah, they make gin. They make gin on the side. But yeah, true. So yeah, Alistair's completely right. Some small whiskey firms are already talking about shutting down production as a result of these tariffs. You know, it's sadistic, and this is what the rich want. This is what there's. It's not enough for rich people like Musk and J.K. Rowling and all these other sick fucks to be rich. It's not enough for them. It's not made them happy. So they turn to sadism. They turn to making life miserable for everybody else, because they want everyone else to be just as miserable as they are. And their best revenge, the best revenge is a life well lived. And it's so true. They hate it. They hate us seeing us making jokes about stuff. That's why the Tory government shut down Mock the Week and the MASH report. Was it the MASH report? On BBC Two. They shut it down. They wanted to shut down Have I Got News for You? Because they don't want to see people laughing. They don't want to see people having a good time. They want everyone as miserable as they are. And they're sick. They're sick in the head. Honestly, if we were living in another time, these motherfuckers would be in a fucking sanitarium somewhere. We would have locked them away in a padded cell. And we'll say, oh, it's for their own good. It wouldn't be for their own good. It'd be for the good of society. Just get them out of society. They've got too much power and too much misery that they want to spread like a fucking disease over everyone. Robert fucking F. Kennedy, who sounds like fucking grated bollocks when he talks, and you're thinking, fucking hell, it's the grated ball man. He's got and he wants everyone to sound like him. He wants everyone to sound like they fucking survived throat cancer or something. I don't fucking know. He wants everyone to be as unhealthy as possible. He wants everyone to have fucking diseases that we should have wiped out by now. He wants children dead. A man who wants children dead. This guy, he went over to Samoa in the Pacific. He killed dozens of people, telling them not to get a fucking vaccination. And then there was a measles outbreak and people fucking died. People died on a small island with a small population. And he's still walking around scot-free. He's now been put in charge of fucking health in America. Most unhealthy sounding man alive. He wants everyone to sound as unhealthy as he does. I sound a bit fucking RFK Jr. this morning, but it's because I've got a hangover. So yeah, and then we've got the problem with consumer prices. So UK retailers will, who import US goods, Nike, Apple, Levi's. I mean, the UK retaliates. Those prices for those goods will rise. iPhones are made in China. They'll get the tariff slapped on them because they're an American company. And then you've got the knock-on inflationary pressure, even without direct UK tariffs. So, I mean, even if we're not directly given, which we will be, but imagine like we're given a special case. Keir Starmer works his magic. He promises, I don't know, what would he promise Trump? A royal visit, and King Sausage Fingers will stick his middle finger up Trump's bum or something. I don't know. And we get away with it. We don't get tariffs ourselves. The EU gets tariffs. Everyone else gets tariffs. China gets tariffs. Tariffs for you. Tariffs for you. Everyone gets a tariff, except for the UK. Okay, that could happen. But then inflationary pressure is still going to absolutely knock us sideways. So we can't escape this either way. And then we'll talk about the EU. The EU has got 3 broad options now. It can retaliate hard and fast with WTO legal countermeasures. It can try and negotiate exemptions via bilateral talks, or do both, retaliate while leaving room for diplomacy. What I think Trump's trying to do, and this has been one of the theories that's been put forward, that he starts and says, right, it's going to be 25%, and then we have to negotiate to get all those tariffs down bit by bit. I think that's what he thinks in his head. I mean, he's a fucking dickhead. But Trump's unpredictability, let's say unpredictability, which spooks the markets, makes all the stock markets go through the fucking floor at the moment. It makes diplomacy hard. It makes trade hard. It makes anything hard. You've got a fucking man-child who stomps his feet and changes his mind all the fucking time. Do you remember that show on MTV? It was called My Super Sweet 16, and it had these precocious little brats on it who would freak out because their fucking parents would buy them like a Ferrari for their 16th birthday, and it'll be the wrong colour, and the kid would have a fucking meltdown. Do you remember this? It was a show on MTV at the beginning of all those reality TV shows of the noughties, and it was just horrifying to watch. And that's who they put in charge now. This little man-child who stamps his foot and wants everything going his way. It's just fucking nuts. It's absolutely bonkers. Trump's team have been deliberately vague about what's going to happen here. And, last-minute carve-outs to countries who show good behaviour. I mean, that's blackmail. It's hostage diplomacy. It really is. It's absolutely... Does anyone remember the Monty Python sketch Blackmail? That's one of the best Monty Python sketches. Everyone talks about spam and the parrot sketches. My favourite Monty Python sketch of all time was one where it was like a game show, but it was called Blackmail, and they would blackmail people, and it was boss, and they showed footage of someone who's having an affair, and it's shaky Super 8 footage filmed through a window of a hotel, and they're with the Mr. Dawkins in this film, if you'd like us to stop this film at any moment, call into the show with $17,000 and we'll stop running the film. And the address to send your money to is behind the water pipes in the toilet in King's Cross Underground Station, platform 7. Just brown envelope stuffed behind the pipes. Brilliant. They should. I'm amazed that hasn't actually been transformed into quite a horrific episode of Black Mirror. Because I think it would make imagine you play it straight. There is a show on TV that they'll show some footage and say, you know who you are, and if you don't call us in, the money goes up the longer you leave it to call in. This dystopian future where this blackmail, this Monty Python sketch actually happens, because that's that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what Black Mirror is all about. What technology. Um, I saw an interview with Charlie Brooker where he was talking about Black Mirror and how it started, and it was he had a friend who passed away, and the number came up on his phone, like he was going through his numbers, and this is back, it's before smartphones, and he didn't know whether to delete the number, and I'm like that. I've still got my sister passed away 14 years ago. I've still got her number in my phone. I don't want to delete it. And it was this weird kind of emotional tie to technology, and that started the gears rolling about like how we are emotionally invested in technology in these weird ways that you just don't think of. But yeah, do you delete? I've got because I'm ADHD. I have a list. Even before I was diagnosed, I have a list of my Liverpool friends. So when I go to Liverpool, I know to remember to get in touch with these friends, because otherwise I'll get back to Durham a few days later and I'll be like, oh, hang on, I didn't call Lorna. I didn't, there's like friends that I didn't call. I didn't say I was in Liverpool. Oh shit. So now I've got this list, so I can check the list. And one of my friends on the list sadly passed away last year. And I don't want to take a name. It's just a list on my phone. It's just a list on my notes on my phone. But I don't want to take a name off the list, because then I think, oh no, weird. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know why I started talking about Black Mirror. I was talking about blackmail. I was talking about Monty Python. I don't know why. Oh, blackmail. Yeah, I was talking about Trump sort of blackmailing the world at the moment. It's hostage diplomacy. Some countries in the EU are more exposed than others, Ireland and Germany in particular. And this could create friction within the bloc, because I don't think Hungary gives a fuck, and Orban's a Nazi anyway, isn't he? And Macron and Mayors are under pressure to stand firm or be seen as weak. And von der Leyen is saying, we did not start this confrontation, but we will respond robustly. And, I was talking yesterday, wasn't I, a bit about the historical parallels and like, do they ever work? Talked about the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of the 1930s. And this made the Great Depression, longer, deeper. It collapsed global trade by 60%. It led to tit for tat, global retaliation, and it raised they put tariffs on 20,000 US goods. They raised US tariffs on 20,000 goods coming in, and it just wrecked the economy, not just of America, but of the world. And it paved the way for the Nazis to get in Germany. It also led to this mad system. It paved the way to the Great Depression, in which thousands and thousands of Americans died, and you had this horrific mass migration of people moving out from Oklahoma to California to go fruit picking with the family. Anyone who's read The Grapes of Wrath can appreciate just how horrific that time was, and it was caused by tariffs. And so what they did was they realized, we shouldn't allow just these nutters to put in tariffs whenever they want. So they gave tariff setting of all the economic policies, like most economic policies, most things to do with raising money, raising taxation, and spending of taxation is supposed to be done by the parliament of a country. That is a foundational part of our democracies around the world. Even before they were democracies, when you had a king and you had parliament, it was parliament's job to raise funds. And so anything like this, an economic decision, would have to go through Congress. But because the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act fucked things up so badly for America and the world, the FDR took that power on himself and said, only I can set tariffs, hoping that, looking at what happened in the past, no American president would be stupid enough to try and do this again. And this led to the Plaza Accord. I was going to mention the Plaza Accord, which was put together by various countries to devalue the US dollar, because the US dollar in the mid 80s was seen as too strong. And it was fairly successful in a way. It did devalue the US dollar, but in another way it fucked over Japan. But it was the US, Japan, France, Germany, and the UK who all got together for this accord. It was cooperative. This new one, it's unilateral. It's just Trump pulling tariffs out of his arse for wherever he wants. And then we have the tariffs in the first term of Trump's presidency. When he put tariffs on China, the EU, Mexico, and Canada, which led to retaliation. Higher consumer prices for people in America, and paying for US farmers who had to be bailed out by the government, or bailed out by the taxpayers in America. George W. Bush also put in tariffs in 2003, I think, on Europe, and Europe turned around and said, "Fuck you, man!" And they put tariffs on specifically goods from red states. It was like Harley Davidson motorbikes and Kentucky bourbon and stuff like that. They went after the states that was that dickhead's name. George W. Bush knew that those states he had to keep on side, and he backed down. He backed down from the tariff. And yeah, the UK, if we hadn't Brexited, I think would be in a much stronger financial, economic position to fight back, but also we'll be part of the EU, and the EU has 450 million customers. With us, it's it's well over 500 million customers who can afford to buy shit from America, and they've got much more power over America than we do. So we'll see what happens. But what can we do? What can we do? Me and you now, right? We can just stop using American shit. I think we're going to see this. And the American electronics, don't buy a new iPhone. Buy a Samsung. Buy a Sony. I'm not paid by Samsung or Sony to say these things, but don't eat at KFC. Don't buy stuff from McDonald's. Just try to think, is this American? Yeah, okay, well, I'm not going to buy it. Do we need any more stuff in our lives? It's so hard to buy presents for people these days because everyone's got everything that they need. You can't buy DVDs for people anymore. You can't buy records. Everyone just streams everything. So maybe cancel your Netflix. There are other ways of watching things. Not saying what those other ways are, but I'm sure you could discover them for yourself if you look into it. Maybe, stop drinking Coca-Cola. Drink Iron Brew instead. Or Vimto. And just be a bit mindful when you buy stuff, like when you buy products, when you go to the supermarket, if it's an American product or an American owned product, fuck it. No more Costa Coffee. No more Starbucks. Cafe Nero's all right. I think that's based in London. Greggs is better than McDonald's anywhere. Yeah, get your pasties at Greggs. Get your lukewarm pasties. I always do that. So when I go into Greggs, I'll eat anything in Greggs. I'm really not fussy. I'm not a fussy eater. I always think of that scene in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where they get the food and Willie's like, "I'm not eating this." And he says, "Eat it. This is more than they get to eat in a week. Eat it," right? And I always think of that scene, especially when I'm traveling. I think it's like really rude to refuse food, especially if you're like a white Westerner. And I'm not talking about if you've got actual intolerances, but if someone gives you food and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't eat this. I don't eat peanut butter. I don't eat, whatever it is. I just think, that's so disrespectful to the people that have given you food. Like, they've given you food, for Christ's sake. I don't know, I'm from a rich white country in Europe. I don't have to abide by these. I get a choice in what I eat in a country where the vast majority of the people don't get any choice whatsoever in what they eat. And if they give you the good stuff, the idea that people eat eyeball soup is bullshit and quite offensive. It's one of the reasons why Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, though set in India, was actually filmed in Sri Lanka, which is a Buddhist country, because the Hindus, when they read the script of Indiana Jones, said, "Fuck no, you're not filming this here," because Hindus are by and large vegetarian. So to have a scene in which the people have eaten fucking snake surprise and eyeball soup and stuff, it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's deeply, deeply racist. But, it was played for laughs, wasn't it? Like that white guy that they browned up to play an Indian person in Short Circuit. God, the 80s were a laugh, weren't they? I was explaining to Kat yesterday, because she doesn't remember this, but there used to be an advert in the 1980s that was so horrifically racist. You watch it now and you will just shit out your eyeballs like how racist this commercial is, right? And it was for Kiora. Does anyone remember this? The Kiora advert with the kid, and he's got Kiora, and he's got a little dog. It's cartoon, and 3 crows are following him. Crows obviously coded for black people, and they're like, we want some of you give some of that Kiora, and he says, no, it's too orangey for crows. It's just for me and my dog. And then the crows start singing, I'll be your dog. And you watch this advert now, and you're like, that was an advert? That was on TV? What the? Then again, there was a Super Bowl commercial in which I think it was for a sneaker brand, a trainer brand. And this isn't that long ago. This is probably, I don't want to say, it was about the 2000s, I think. And it was an advert for a particular brand of trainers. And they thought that the best way to advertise this would be to have a black man wearing these trainers being pursued, like hunted in a safari by white guys in a Jeep. I mean, I want to think that this was some kind of fever dream that I had after taking magic fucking mushrooms at some point, but no! Or doing a boga in the fucking Gabonese jungle, but no! I think this was an actual real advert that aired on actual Super fucking Bowl. I shit you not. Leipzig says, yeah, too orangey for crows, I'll be your dog. I mean, fucking, you show that to Americans, you show that advert to Americans, and they are like, what the fuck? I mean, isn't there a song? It was acceptable in the 80s. Who was that? It was the Beta Band? That wasn't the Beta Band. Who was it? Hot Chip. Hot Chip did a song, didn't they? Called it Acceptable in the 80s. It was acceptable in the 80s. Richie Goff says, I'm also not a Greggs fan, as I prefer small bakeries, much better pastries. Yeah, true. But what I was going to say about Greggs, they can't reheat the pasties. So I'll go in there and I'll eat anything, right? Before I went off on a tangent, I was about to mention this. I'll eat anything. So I'll go in and go, what's just come out the oven? What has just come out the oven? I don't want a steak bake that's sat there for 2 hours in the bain marie and is like freezing cold now. I don't want a cold steak pasty. It has to be hot. I don't like food that should be hot that's cold. Salad, supposed to be cold. Fine. Sorted. I'm all right with that. But like sausage rolls, cold sausage rolls, I don't even like cocktail sausages because they should be hot. I know they shouldn't, but they should be hot. There you go. Calvin Harris says, Wayne. What? Calvin Harris? What was that? The advert? I didn't realize that character in Short Circuit was a white bloke. Oh, and that song Melting Pot about love and unity is never played now. Yeah. Don't forget Umbongo. They drink it in the Congo. Yeah, I've been in the Congo and they don't actually drink Umbongo there. But, memorable jingle. People need to research red state companies, like how Canada are targeting them, not blue states. Good point. I don't know how you can do that, though. I mean, you should just say no to McDonald's. I think you just got to say no to McDonald's, don't you? Sorry, acceptable in the 80s. It was Calvin Harris. Sorry, I thought it was Hot Chip. I don't know why I got that mixed up. Hot sausage rolls and pasties give me heartburn, I'm afraid, so I prefer them cold. Fair enough. For some stuck, you can have the cold ones that I don't want. But it's an actual thing with it's to do with VAT. So essentially, Greggs can sell their pasties without VAT because it's not down as a hot food, because it's hot when it comes out the oven, but then it cools down. So it's not hot because there's another layer of VAT on hot food rather than cold food, because VAT is supposed to be on luxury goods and hot food is obviously a luxury. So I think like if you eat in a restaurant, that's hot food, right? Because it comes, so that's hot food, but so it's subject to a different kind of taxation to Greggs, because they go, no, it's not hot. It was hot when it came out the oven, but now it's going cold. It's a loophole. It's weird. Someone might be able to explain it better in the chat than I can, but I just know that's why they're not allowed by law. Well, not by law, but they're not allowed to reheat the food, because if they did, you'd have to pay VAT on it. Dad was an Aussie and always made his own for barbecues. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of flavour in Greggs, to be honest, but my boy likes them. I don't mind. In Liverpool, we had Sayers are Greggs. So Greggs grew up here, up in the northeast. The first one was in Newcastle, and we had one. We I don't think we had any in the 80s and 90s in Liverpool. We didn't have any Gregs. Now we've got loads. We used to have Sayers. Well, we still do. I think there's a couple of Sayers bakers still open, but there used to be one at like on every street corner at one point. And they sold exactly the same shit as Greg's does, you know, pasties and sausage rolls and stuff like that. But yeah, put anything in puff pastry. Oh, now you're singing the song of my soul, baby. Oh yeah, just put it in puff pastry. I don't care what it is. Put it in puff pastry. Fuck yeah. Not difficult to do. Look up an American brand, what state they are in, and how they voted. Why penalise Americans who are just as appalled as us? It's like punishing Remainers with Brexiteer choices. Yeah, but Nick and Diff, I mean, we all get punished for the choices of the fucking Brexiteers. I think it makes us more angry and makes us more likely to fix things. If the blue states are like, well, we're not angry enough. Yeah, I haven't seen enough people protesting. I understand why ethnic minorities are not protesting in America. I understand why trans people are not protesting in America, because they'll be locked away. But white allies should be out on the streets in significant numbers, and they're not. Apparently, there's going to be a big demonstration on April the 5th, I think, Saturday. So if that goes ahead, fantastic. I want to see 1 million people on the streets. But if they're not, I'm going to be a bit kind of like, are there any good Americans left? Apart from our friends Mikey and Tim, obviously. They're always. Inner Hype says, I used to get 5 sausage rolls in the factory outlet on Westgate Road in Newcastle in the late 90s. I love the comment here. Oggy pasties are fucking great too. The best sausage rolls in the fucking world, right, are from T-Bay Services, which if you go up the M6, right, get off at T-Bay Services, it's fucking best service station in the country, right? And it's that they have these sausage rolls, and they are that big. They're that big. They're like the goatsy of sausage rolls. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that analogy. They're like really big sausage rolls. That's fucked up a few people's mental imagery this morning with Graham Hughes. But if you want the cheap alternative, there's a little truck stop on the junction before T-Bay Services as you go north towards Scotland, and they have the same these fucking sausages, and they're dead hot. They're fucking brilliant, greasy as fuck. You'll get grease everywhere. Server says, I bet Michelle Moon didn't have to fill out as many pages to get money for MedPro as someone claiming PIP. Yeah. SG says, I love T-Bay Services, the best. Yes, SG. Yes, we know. Martin Lewis was on LBC about price rises on Monday. He was really angry. Yeah, I bet, mate. I bet. Independent Sandwich Bar, just around the corner from Greg's in my town, does a really nice Cornish pasty. You're making me hungry. I've not had any breakfast. I'm hungover to fuck, and I've had no breakfast yet. But, you know, I like chatting. I like chatting with you all. Good chat. Yeah, good chat. You're not chatting shit. I always like that expression, chatting shit. It sounds like the name of an underground station. Yeah, you got to get off of chatting shit on your way, all the way to Cockfosters. So let's talk a little bit about the tariffs again. So let's these investment paralysis we're going to get from the tariffs. These companies are going to be frozen mid-supply chain. Logistics firm Flexport have said everyone is paralysed. UK small to medium enterprises that depend on US inputs can't plan forward. More instability. You've also got this potential for fragmented globalization. Countries shifting away from the US. UK will have to increase trade with the EU, Canada, Asia. But you've got this danger of a new Cold War style split of global trade. Having 2 different spheres of global trade, one of which is the US, Russia, and the other is everybody else who's not a fucking Nazi. The hit to the wealthy as well. You've got UK and EU economies depend on consumer spending by the wealthy, and these tariffs impact luxury goods, imported cars, fashion, wine, spirits, as we said, whiskey, and stock market losses hit pension funds and confidence. We've talked about confidence a lot in the show because that's what really drives people, that drives economies, is confidence. Confidence and liquidity. That's what we need all the time. It's why something as daft as austerity, where people who spend money in their local communities no longer have money to spend in the local communities because it's all been taken away from them. It fucks the whole system. And it's really hard to explain this to someone who's a right-wing libertarian fucknut, because they don't believe in society. They don't believe in communities working together for a common good. They don't understand it. They don't have the emotional intelligence to understand what that is. People like Elon Musk, the reason why he's whinging about empathy is because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't feel empathy. It's a surefire sign of a narcissist, sociopath. They just don't care about anyone but themselves. But it's never their fault, and they're always the victim. It's the Davos attack, isn't it? It's deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. So it's like, I know what you are, but what am I? It's like childish responses to valid criticism, where you just turn around and say, no, I didn't do it. You're caught red-handed, literally blood all over your hand, a knife in your CCTV. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. Well, if I did, they deserved it. The narcissist prayer. This is. We're living through it, aren't we? The narcissist prayer, writ large. Labour under pressure as well. They can't look too soft on Trump, but also can't afford the trade war amid inflation, stagnant growth, and tight fiscal rules. Starmer's calm and steady approach may not hold if prices jump and exports tank. Far-right elements will frame retaliation as a globalist betrayal in America and beyond. And, you've got the Tory lot. They don't know what to do. I mean, a few months ago, Kemi Badenoch was like in Parliament, just, big cheesy grin on her face, going, "Oh, Trump has won. Oh, should we celebrate the fact that Trump has won? Oh, I love Trump. Yeah." And now, do you still love him now, Kemi? Kemi, do you still love him now? No, I'm just running around hating immigrants. Oh, so you don't like people from other countries? Yeah, people from other countries. Imagine if someone was born here by their parents and then taken back to Nigeria, and they spent the first sort of 16 years of their life living in Nigeria and going to a very private, very, very expensive private school in Nigeria, and then came back to the UK as an adult. Would they be an immigrant, Kemi? Would they be unwelcome in our country, Kemi? Would they, Kemi? Because that's what Kemi Badenoch did. Just saying. Inner Hype says BlackRock bought loads of Trump media stock. They have lots of cash tied to Russian oil tanker company and wish to swap trades. BlackRock are one of the most evil companies in the world. They're like comedy evil. That's how, like in dystopian futures, like Omnicorp was it Omnicorp who made OCP in RoboCop, and then you've got Wayland Yutani in the Aliens franchise, and then you've got the Tyrell Corporation in Blade Runner. These evil fucking companies that just want to fuck everyone over. Don't know who's worse, You don't see them fucking you don't see the aliens fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage, said Ripley to Burke, who was in My Two Dads. Couldn't have My Two Dads now, could you? All the fucking free speech warriors will be up in arms. You got a show, My Two Dads, a show where a young woman is brought up by two fathers at the same time. What? Can't have that. The 80s were a wild time. But yeah, Michael, what was his name? Michael Biehn played Hudson, didn't he? Or Hicks. He played Hicks. I'm Hudson, sir. He's Hicks. Paul Reiser, who's also in Stranger Things. It's quite different these days. I'm still upset about losing Dirty Val. I like Dirty Val. I know he's difficult to work with, but he was putting solid. He was putting solid performances. Do you know what I mean? He was good. The less said about Batman Forever, the better. Is that the one with the nipples? No, that was Batman and Robin, wasn't it? Do you know what this Batsuit needs? What does it need? It needs nipples, says Joel Schumacher, the director. Did he ever direct anything after that? Was that it? He accidentally made a really good film once. He made Falling Down, which can be read as a bit of a libertarian screed, but at the same time, like, there are some very, very satisfying moments in that movie. And if you remember the bit where he's walking across the golf course and this old guy, like, like he's going nuts because he's like, get off my golf course. He's like, I'm just walking through. It's fine. I'll be gone in a minute. And he's like, and he shoots his golf ball and it hits Michael Douglas. And he's like, fucking hell, what are you doing? Pulls out a big gun. And the guy has a heart attack. And you shouldn't laugh because this is awful. But he's like, you're going to die now. Because his pills are in his little golf buggy, which has gone into the water. You're going to die now with that stupid fucking hat on. And I was watching this scene. Someone put a clip of it online. And I was watching it going, fucking hell. I hope that's what happens on the day. On the day that it happens. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? On the golf course. You're going to die now. You're going to die in that stupid red hat. How does it feel? Anyway, I won't be there, unfortunately. But yeah, that was Joel Schumacher. He also made The Lost Boys. It's another great film from the 80s. Sleep all day, party all night. It's fun to be a vampire. From the film with the famous line, Death by Stereo. Cool. Clooney was Nipples. Kilmer was with Nicole Kidman. A better film-ish. Free the Batnips. Three Men and a Baby would have blown their minds. Yeah, that's true as well. Oh my God. Who was it who did the voice for the baby? It was Bruce Willis, wasn't it? Bruce Willis? Bruce Willis did the voice. He's not well, is he? Bruce Willis. Lots of two dad families in my son's school. Yeah, Bruce Willis had got dementia, didn't he? And he has dementia, he's a form of dementia. And he knew that it was coming on, so he just signed up for like any film he could get to provide for his family. Once he couldn't act anymore, and so he's in all these like absolutely garbage films. And he was given, well, he wasn't given, but he got like knock on the door. I hope Kat can hear that. I might have to text her and say door. Let's have a look. Sorry about this, everyone. I don't want to leave you for a moment as well. I have to go and get the door. Right. So anyway, where was I? I was talking about Dirty Val, wasn't I? And about Joel Schumacher. And oh God, I completely gone off script. Look who's talking. Bruce Willis. Yeah, I was talking about Bruce Willis. He did all these garbage films, and they got awarded like Golden Raspberries and stuff. And then they found out that he had dementia. Well, he was early stages of dementia, and they were like, oh shit, feel really bad now, Oh, Kat got the message. I have to text her because she can't hear the door. Sean, we thought his acting skills had gone, but it was a dementia. Very sad. Yeah. But they've removed his name from the website for Rotten Tomatoes. Not Rotten Tomatoes. What is it? The Razzie Awards. Because he felt really sly. Jesus Christ. He was just trying to do his best, for his family. Seems like a good guy. Bruce Willis. But it is weird how these people who we don't know come into our lives and feel like a part of our lives. And it wound me up in 2016 when we lost so many celebrities who I fucking loved, like heroes, absolute heroes of mine. And we lost them all in this horrible year of just fucking everyone dying. And Princess Leia, George Michael, just Prince, Bowie, Alan Rickman, just so many great people who had an impact on my life. And people are like, why do you care? You didn't know them in real life. And I'm like, I know, but because of the way life is now, some of these people, we know them better than we know people in our lives. We see them more regularly because they're on the TV, they're in a film, they're singing a song. We hear their voice more than we hear the voices of our mates who we know in real life. And of course, it's going to have some kind of emotional impact when they go. And so I think it's really horrible that people go, oh, why do you care? You didn't know them. And I'm like, I can still be upset. I can still be sad. Like I was sad when Douglas Adams died. I still remember where I was. I was in Manchester. It was a sunny day. We'd gone down to the where the comedy club used to be under the arches, and it was like it was like being hit. It's like being hit in the heart. John Peel as well. I found out he had passed away, like driving me car. I tuned into Radio One, and there was some guy on Trevor Phillips, is it Trevor someone on Radio One. And I was like, that's not right. It should be. It's time for John Peel. And he said, oh yeah, he passed away in Peru. He was just had a heart attack and died. I was like, absolutely devoed. I don't think I still haven't got over Rick Mail. Rick Mail was like my go-to comedy actor, comedian. I loved everything he was in. Drop Dead Fred, Bottom, The Young Ones, even Filthy Rich and Cat Flap that no one saw. You know, he was a fucking genius. He did a series of dramas on ITV, and they were fucking brilliant. Like not one shot, but you know, like where it was a different story each week. It's like 3 of them. They were fucking brilliant. Like, he was a really good actor as well as being fucking hilarious, and he was brilliant in The New Statesman. And then, yeah, he had this accident, the quad bike accident. He never really recovered from it. But you know, tragic. Caroline Aherne, comic genius. Yeah, I don't know if you were watching on the other week when we had the Friday Night Social and Terry Christian came on. He was telling us that his choice for co-presenter for The Word was Caroline Aherne. But they were like, no, we can't have 2 working class people on the show. We can't have 2 Mancs on the show. So they got like the poshest woman they could possibly find. So, like, this woman, Amanda de Cabernet was her name. Amanda. She had like links. Her family had links to European aristocracy. Like, they couldn't have picked someone posher to be up against Terry Christian on The Word, but he wanted Caroline Aherne. I mean, she was fucking brilliant. Yeah, Robin Williams' death hit me as I was in hospital under a section after suicide attempt, and hearing he died from suicide hit me hard. Sarah, I'm so sorry to hear that. And yet, Robin Williams, again, when we mention about the fact that, like, obviously money isn't everything, mental well-being is everything, your health is everything. It really is. And if your life and the people surrounding you aren't making you happy, I think that, I mean, despite the fact that I have my very big reservations about Michael Jackson, because I feel like, you know, he did some things that were definitely questionable, definitely improper, and even if he was entirely innocent, it's not right for a 30-year-old man to be getting into a bed naked with children who he's given wine to and called it Jesus juice and given it to them in a Coke can. I mean, some of the stories that came out from that were horrific. But in a way, I feel sorry for him, the way he turned out. I feel sorry for his victims, clearly. But the way he turned out, because he rose to fame as a kid, he was exploited by his father. Just like Amy Winehouse, completely exploited. And just a bit like Amy Winehouse as well, got to a point where he didn't know whether the people sucking up to him, the people being nice to him, were being nice to him because they actually wanted to be friends with him, or whether they were doing it just because he's rich and they wanted a bit of that. You know, they wanted the good life. They wanted to mooch off their very, very rich friends. And when you can't trust your friends, when you can't have the peace of mind to know that people are hanging out with you, not under duress or because they feel like they're going to get something out of it, they're actually hanging out with you because they like you. You know, they actually like hanging out. You're actually fun to be with. And not having that in your life is really, really detrimental. And probably was part of the reason why he went the way he went. I'm not trying to justify what he did in any way, shape, or form. I think what he did was disgusting if he did it. But at the same time, we as a society need to start looking into what makes us happy. And I love the fact that in Bhutan they have a national happiness index. A national happiness index. Can we do that? Can we do that, please? Fuck yeah. Push for it. Find out what makes people happy. And I tell you, 99 times out of 100, it's not actually money. I mean, you need a bit of money just so you're not fucking starving or just keeping just keeping yourself just on the breadline. I'm talking about, like, you know, people don't need that much money, and these people who have that much money I think by taking that money off them, I think we're actually doing them a favour. Yeah. Victoria Ward. Yeah, she was brilliant. I love Victoria Ward. My mate wears a Michael Jackson t-shirt, and I'm like, yeah, says Nick and Diff. Yeah, yeah. Gallifreyan Ren says, as a 90s kid, losing Jason David Frank hit me right in the childhood. 2 of the original Power Rangers gone now. One on the hook for pip fraud. On the hook for pip fraud. Crazy. Rick Mail Presents, that was the name of the show on ITV. It was brilliant. It was fucking brilliant. It was around the same time that Robbie Coltrane was doing Cracker, which, we do these like gritty police dramas, don't we? But no one's ever done it like Jimmy McGovern. Jimmy McGovern, he's a Scouser who wrote Cracker. It was so fucking good. He had Gruey as his son from Gruey, and the sequel to Gruey, which is called Gruey Tooey. And Nick and Dave says, that hit hard when I was pagan. My mum still remembers the day Freddie Mercury died. I hadn't been born yet. Fucking hell. You young whippersnapper. I remember Freddie Mercury dying. It was, I might be misremembering this, and I might be mixing it up with something else in the past. Maybe Princess Diana's death. But I'm pretty sure that it was like a Saturday night news. Freddie Mercury revealed that he had AIDS. And then on the Sunday, he was dead. It was a 1-2. And for all of us who grew up in the 80s, like Queen were massive. I can't overstate how just ubiquitous they were. You heard them all the time, everywhere you went. You went to the, I mean, the Highlander soundtrack. Everyone had greatest hits 1 and 2. Like everyone had them, and yeah, just to lose that talent, that young, when he had so much more to give, was yeah. Frank Sidebottom, yeah, we lost Frank Sidebottom. Shame we lost Robbie Coltrane. Yeah, he was great as well. There's so many great people, and yeah, if we are sad about the fact that these people are not with us anymore, that's a normal human emotion. I'm more worried about people who don't get sad about it, who are just like, oh well, never mind. I never liked their films anyway, or something ridiculous like that. I don't like it when people try and belittle you for the things that you like, people who are like dead proud that they don't like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Star Trek or whatever it is. They're proud of the fact, and I find it belittling, because I mean, I might not be completely into. I'm into most things, so I'm trying to give an example of something that I'm not really madly into this thing. That just because I'm not into it, I kind of appreciate that some people are, and I try and live and let live. I don't just get too angry about stuff that I don't like, and the fact that other people like it. I mean, it's difficult when there's bands like Mumford and Sons, and there's TV shows like Mrs. Brown's Boys, but some people like it. Some people like it, and as I get older, I'm trying to be a bit more mellow about it. I'm trying to just go, okay, it's fine. People can like what they like. It's okay. Kenny Everett, he was brilliant as well. He was on the TV all the time when I was a kid. Queen kept churning out the hits. They absolutely did. Wow, Graham's still like, yeah, sorry, I've got a hangover and I'm just rambling. I was supposed to be talking about trade tariffs. Should we talk about trade tariffs? Anyway, closing thoughts. Tariffs sound strong. They're easy to explain. They make the president look like a fighter, but they're regressive, they're inflationary and chaotic, particularly when implemented without consultation or strategy. Trump's Liberation Day today is economic nationalism dressed up as populism, but it risks a reverse Brexit moment for the world, a sudden destabilizing shift in global power based on fiction, pride, and political desperation. Britain, as ever, is caught in the middle. It's too small to fight it alone, and too proud to admit it. So yeah, not great. So we'll be back later today. Obviously, we've got Prime Minister's questions in an hour and a half at 12 o'clock. Please join us for that, and then we'll be going down the rabbit hole later on, talking about life, the universe, and everything with Rachel Harris at 6 o'clock. And then if Ollie's available tonight, we'll be doing a show at 9 o'clock tonight when Trump announces his tariffs and how they're going to affect us. I could jump over to. Should we jump over to the papers very quickly? Because Witchy Goth said the papers, Graham. Very demanding of you, Witchy Goth, but I love you really. Store one giant week for mankind. Space boffins reckon an asteroid which was feared would hit Earth is now on course to smash into the moon. Evacuate the clangers. Moon asteroid fears. It's probably like a 1% chance that it'll crash into the moon. The moon's a good lad, though, isn't it? Honestly, if it wasn't for the moon, we'll be fucked. Look at the surface of the moon. You know, it's covered in potholes, craters, right? That's not for all the traffic. That's from things that should have hit Earth but hit the moon instead. It's like a shield. It's like a fucking shield going around the. It's fucking amazing. Thank you, moon. Say thank you, moon. That's why, you know, like. Oh, mega chat. Sorry, I didn't get another mega chat. It just came up when I changed angles. When I changed camera setup. I really don't understand. Well, I do, but like, it's not for me, right? People worshipping a wizard who lives in the sky. I know that's kind of derogatory to say it that way, but effectively a superhuman person who created everything, a superhero who can do magic things, lives in the sky, and I don't get that, but I do understand worshipping the sun and moon, because if it wasn't for the sun, there'd be no life on Earth, and if it wasn't for the moon, there'd be no life on Earth. I mean, they don't care. They don't. They're passive about it all. They're not conscious about the joy that they give us and giving us life and making life available and making it happen on this planet. They don't give a fuck. But at the same time, I do want. If you're going to say thank you to anything, saying thank you to the sun and moon makes more sense to me. The sun, moon, and evolution. Let's hear it. But yeah, anyway, so sorry, I don't know why I went off on one about that. Don't provoke new trade war that makes UK poorer. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch warning to the PM as Trump tariff strikes. So we're just supposed to take the tariffs, are we? Kemi, is that the plan? Trump's trade madness. 25,000 jobs in British motor industry at risk. UK is braced for new tariff waves today. Carnage, see what they've done there? See, they made car in yellow andNej. Very clever. It's a pun. Got the Fab Four here, the new Fab Four. We're going to get a series of films about the Beatles. They're making like 6 of them or something. Okay, fair enough. You wait ages for a biopic about the Beatles to come along, and then 6 come along at once. And Barry Keoghan there is going to be playing Ringo. Now you know. Got Ringo. The joke about John Lennon being asked whether Ringo was the best drummer in the world, and he said, "No, he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles." That was a Jasper Carrot joke that never actually happened, but still funny. Gotta put it in there that was just it was someone else's joke. We've got Daily Mail and we've got what's his name, Beckham here, and Posh Beck's there, Posh Spice, who's taken some youth serum to make her look about 15 years old, which is quite, in fact, it's not her, it's his daughter. Trump's tariffs threaten crisis for Reeves. Chancellor's headroom to be wiped out in just 1 week after cuts to balance the books. Yeah, we're in trouble. The Guardian here with a lovely girl from Derry Girls who was in Bridgerton. I think she's in Bridgerton. There was an entire series about her, which I thought was really cool. PM offers US tech firms tax cut in return for lower Trump tariffs. So this is going to be Amazon and Twitter and Facebook and Google and YouTube are going to get a tax cut because there's a levy that was brought in like 2020. It's only like 2% or something. It's fuck all, but it was on American tech firms essentially who operate in this country, and yeah, they're going to get rid of it. Musk is going to be happy and excited. Gotta hate him. Sam Mendes reveals his cast for his Beatles biopics. So the same picture as on one of the other papers there. US officials challenged Ofcom over free speech. Fuck off. And then we've got the Daily Telegraph here. Alison Pearson, police abuse of power must end. Seems very woke of you, Alison. Sounds very lefty. Melena's salute to women of courage. What, like the women who were raped by your husband? Fuck off. Starmer's 11th hour bid to halt trade war. And then this horrific story about this serial rapist. They reckon he raped over 100 women. 100 women. And we know because he filmed it. He fucking filmed it. And 23 more victims have come forward to say they were the women in the films that he made. Absolutely fucking horrific. Absolutely horrific. There needs to be more protection of women. And while we're talking bollocks about, oh, we've got to close down all the fucking public toilets because a trans person might use the fucking toilet. Meanwhile, women are being assaulted every day by cisgender men. Every hour of every day, every minute of every hour. If someone means you harm in this life, it is 99 times out of 100 someone that you know. It is nearly always someone that you live with who means you harm, who causes harm. It is a horrible thing to have to process. It is much nicer to think of stranger danger. There's a weirdo traveling, in a van picking up children off the streets, but that very rarely fucking happens. When was the last child abducted in this country? It wasn't even in this country. It was Madeleine McCann over in Portugal. It happens so unregularly that if it does, it's in the news. It is so in the news. We'll hear about it. But where children are being abused is in the house, in their homes, in their schools, in their scout troop, in their choir, in their church group. This is where kids are being abused by someone who fucking knows them. And all the discourse at the moment is this madness about trans people attacking strangers for no reason in toilets, rather than protecting women. There was a woman who was sexually assaulted by a police officer, and the Met gaslit her. They gaslit this woman to say, no, that never happened. They said that she had mental health problems. They pretended, they gaslit her that she had mental health problems and she wasn't a trustworthy witness or a victim or person making a statement. They said she wasn't trustworthy. Protecting their own. The Met Police needs root and stem reform. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. We get Patsy Stevenson back on the channel. We'll talk a bit more about that and what needs to change. I'll head over to the Financial Times now. War game. China asserts Taiwan claim. This is really, really bad news. This is really worrying. This news up here at the top of the page. China asserts Taiwan claim. Chinese aircraft carrier Shandong takes part in the Coast Guard exercises in waters near Taiwan yesterday, rattling those sabers, gearing up for full-on invasion of Taiwan, which will result in the deaths of millions. Investors flock to gold as fears mount on eve of Trump tariff announcement. And then we've got Chinese demand fuels BYD bonanza as Europeans turn their backs on Tesla. This is the Chinese company. Oh, fuck off adverts. Air conditioners. Oh, I've not been looking up air conditioners. Well, no, sorry. All conditions. Didn't even read it properly. What Tony Burns said, that's correct. The tech firms need to be reined in so badly. Yeah, they absolutely do. They absolutely, all of them. Instead of taking tax off, I think we should put tax on. Loads more on everything. We've entered the world now where we had these streamers and there was no way of making money out of streaming, and they're wasting $320 million on shite like the electric state, and now they're putting adverts. So you're paying for stuff, you're paying for content, and you're seeing adverts on top of that, and you're paying more than you did for cable because you've got to pay for each individual, or satellite TV. You're paying more because you've got to pay for each individual streamer. You've got to pay for Netflix, and you've got to pay for Disney Plus, and you've got to pay for Apple TV, and you've got to pay for the other one, Amazon Prime. So like 4 different things. It ends up costing like, put it all together, £30-40 a month. And it's not like we watch more TV now. than before. We watch the same amount that we do. It's just more tailored. Like, you just watch what you want to watch instead of having to sit through a load of dross waiting for your show to start. Can't you remember racing home to see something on TV? Do you remember that? You'd never do that again now, do you? You never race home to maybe a football match or something that's live, but I used to race home to watch TV shows. I remember like being agitated that the bus was a bit late because I missed the first 5 minutes of whatever the fuck it was that I was going to watch. May Weiss's Experience or Hale and Pace or something. The show that I wanted to watch that was on that night. Yeah, I ended up in care, being an abuse survivor, family danger, says Sean. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sean. I'm so sorry. But if we're going to do anything to protect women, we're going to do stuff to protect children, we have to be taking a more proactive stance on, in situations where people take advantage. And the fact that private schools, for instance, you could have a private school like Ampleforth, which harboured a paedophile for many, many years and covered for this paedophile for many, many years while he carried out his horrific crimes. How is that still a school? How are people still sending their fucking children to this school where they know they once had a fucking notorious, quite famous paedophile who was a teacher at that school who abused children and was only found out, years later. And they send their kids to this school? Like, what's going through their fucking heads? But then people sent their kids to go and stay at Michael Jackson's for the night. What was going through their fucking heads? It wasn't right. It wasn't normal. Would you send your child to go and stay with your 30-year-old single weird male neighbor who lives, down the road? Just leave them in the company of this man you barely know. And he says, oh, it's all right, we'll sleep together. They can sleep in my bed. And you're like, what? What? Yeah. And women need better protection. Women need to be believed when they make a complaint against the Met. Not gaslit, not told that they've got mental health problems and they should be ignored because you can't take their testimony seriously. Like, we've got to stop these practices. We've got to stop the absolute, inbred, is that probably the inbred misogyny in this country, all over the world. But I mean, we can't really do much about other countries. Well, it starts with us. It starts with changing the way we think, our attitude to stuff. And one of the things, and I've said this so many times on this channel, is when someone tells you that they're in trouble, someone tells you that they're a woman, someone tells you that they're a Muslim or a Christian or a vegetarian, believe them. Believe them. There's no reason to fucking lie. If someone tells you that their house has been burgled, your first question is not like, oh, had you had something to drink? What were you wearing? Were you flirting? Well, no, my house got robbed. There's a crime has been committed against me. Yeah, but did you entice the criminal into doing those actions? I mean, did you have a nice fancy TV? Is that the problem? Is it the nice fancy TV? Yeah. The new Doctor Who series are fantastic. I really like Ncuti Gatwa. So, did you see the Taints flew to Dubai? That's it now. They'll never see justice. Oh God, they're so dangerous. We've talked about adolescence on this channel before, but it's where I want everyone to watch it. I want everyone to be forced to watch it. In fact, Netflix are giving copies for people to put on not copies, but they're being allowed it to be streamed in schools for free. So teachers and the students can watch it and just understand this radicalization, this toxic radicalization of young men, which is no different from the terrorist training camps, these religious schools set up by the Saudis all over the Islamic world, where they become breeding grounds for terrorism because they're pushed down not an alt-right pipeline, but an alt-Islam pipeline, the Wahhabist, ultra ultra religious pipeline. I hate the expression. I've got friends who are X. I've got friends who are black. I've got friends who are Jewish. I've got friends, but I do have friends who are Muslim, and none of them are like crazy religious with it. I've got friends who are Christian. I've got friends who are Jewish, and they're not crazy religious about it. But they know people. They all know people who are crazy religious with it, and there's no getting through to them. They've gone. Everything they do in life is seen through the prism of their religion, and anything they want to do is excused by the fact that they're doing it because of religious reasons, and they'll tie their brain in knots. This cognitive dissonance of the religious, and it's not just religion. It's not just religion. That's why I try not to attack religion on this channel, because it could be anything. And you've got a lot of young men now who might have gone into the clergy, might have, declared themselves fucking celibate for life back in the day. And now they're getting fed down this alt-right pipeline, and it is like a religion. It is like a religion with rituals and the same kind of these godheads, these figures, these preachers who tell people how to think, because thinking is difficult. Thinking is hard. Thinking takes effort. Just turn your brain off and get someone else to do your thinking for you. Get someone else to formulate your opinions about things. There's a lot of things happening in the world at the moment. How do I feel about it? I don't know. I'll let someone else tell me how I should feel about it. And that is toxic. It's absolutely toxic. And whether it's radicalized fundamentalist Christians or Jews or Muslims or Hindus or Buddhists or going down this alt-right pipeline into the manosphere, it all smacks of the same issue, that we are not giving young people the love and attention and critical faculties that they need to navigate their way through life. And we need to work on this. We really need to work on this. And I'm so glad that a TV show's come along, because this is how you cut through. If you make a TV show about something, it cuts through in a way, make a drama, because it makes people understand the thinking behind what has happened, the mentality behind it's going beyond the headlines. It's going beyond just, all the people who aren't there, don't know, discussing it. You've actually got the chance to really have an emotional journey with those characters and understand their motivations and what made them do the things they do. And this is why drama and art are so important, and it's why they're so hated by the right. The first thing the right want to do is destroy the arts. They want to take out poetry. They want to burn books, because it's a threat to them. It's a threat to them to have people having what Elon Musk has called the worst thing, the problem with liberals. Empathy. And if there's anything lacking in the world today, as we see time and time again, it is a lack of empathy that drives people. And they think they're being relentlessly logical, cold and calculated, and they're not. They're just being dickheads. Because if you walk into a room, and I'll tell you this, you want to find the smartest person in that room. It won't be the person who's spouting out facts and figures from around the fucking world. It'll be the person with the greatest emotional intelligence. It'll be the person who understands people. It's the person who wants to help, who wants to give their time and their energy to making other people's lives better, because they know that makes their lives better as well. It's not a zero-sum game. The rising tide raises all boats. It's as simple as that. Austerity doesn't work. It's not a pot of money and they're taking a chunk of the money, and we're being left at the peanuts. It doesn't quite work that way. If we're given more than peanuts, we'll spend money and the pot gets bigger for everyone, rich and poor alike. But if the rich just keep taking their pot, they're taking their bit and giving nothing to the rest of us, then our economy's never going to grow. It's never going to grow. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'll be back in about an hour for PMQs. I'm going to have some breakfast. What should I have for breakfast? I don't know. Paul says, I hate to say this, however, remember, men are abused by their partners as well. It's different, but definitely exists and not uncommon. It's not about abuse. It's about abuse and control, not gender. Paul, you make a good point, and I'll make a point in return, which I've made on this channel before. As a man, you're more likely to be abused. You're more likely to be abused than be accused of abuse that you didn't do. So most men are terrified that someone will point the finger at them and say, you did this to me. And then they won't have a legal leg to stand on, whatever, you know. If the justice system always sides with women, then they might accuse me of something. And the reality is that hardly ever happens. It does happen, of course it does. And all kinds of crazy shit happens every day. But you're absolutely right. And men can be in abusive relationships where they are. It might not be a physically abusive relationship, but it can be psychologically abusive, which is just as bad, if not worse, in some respects. Yeah, I mean, for all abuse victims, my line is believe them. Believe them. Because if you're going to say innocent until proven guilty about the perpetrator, then you're essentially saying that the victim is guilty of perjury and wasting police time and defamation, slander, libel until they're proved innocent in a court of law. You can't have it both ways, which isn't right. And they both can't be innocent at the same time. That doesn't work. Innocent until proven guilty is just for the jury of a trial. Not for the rest of us. We can make our own minds up, as we often do, and as we should do. Patrick says, my ex-girlfriend attacked me. I left. I can be really difficult, mate. You've got my sympathy because, yeah, I know where you're coming from. Graham, something greasy is good for hangovers, apparently. Dry toast may be safe, though. I think I'm going to go for toast. I don't think I can't do dry toast because my throat's too sore from the gig. I got the set list though. I got the Ash set list. There you go. Goldfinger, Burn Baby Burn, and on Burn Baby Burn, Justin from the Darkness joined the Ash lads on stage. It was fucking boss. But yeah, more live music. That's what we need. That's what we need in life. More live music. Right. Anyways, I love you and leave you. See you in about an hour for PMQs if you want. If not, 6 o'clock, The Rabbit Hole with Rachel Harris, and 9 o'clock, hopefully tonight. Whether Ollie can join me or not, I will do a show as the tariff comes in and we find out what's actually going to happen, because I neglected you last night. We didn't have a geoscope. I'm sorry. So I'll make up for it today with a bumper episode of Morning Brew, where we talk about bloody life, the universe. God, there's going to be nothing left to talk about later, is there? No, we talked about that this morning. Sorry, Rachel. But yeah, never mind. Okay, so thank you so much for the super chat, especially Plum Duff. Thank you. And I will see you at 12 o'clock. And until then, give us a like on the way out. We always like a like on this channel. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.